At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Theo as the kind of kid who makes teachers age faster than normal. He's clever, frighteningly so, but not in ways that show up on a report card. He bribes classmates to do his homework using video game privileges, and his entry method of choice for his own home is a drain pipe and a second-floor window. The front door is apparently for people with no imagination. Theo lives with his older brother, Oscar, and their grandmother. Their parents are gone. Their mother vanished under circumstances. The two brothers interpret very differently, which becomes important later. Oscar is the serious, studious older brother. Theo is the human equivalent of a loose wire. One afternoon, Theo is standing on the roof, because of course he is eating a banana. He finishes it, and in a moment of pure, unbothered mischief, tosses the peel off the edge. Now, normally a banana peel falls, but this banana peel does not fall. It disappears. Mid-air. No sound. No splat. Nothing. Theo blinks, leans over the edge, stares into the empty air below. The peel is just gone. Any reasonable person would back away slowly and drink some water. Theo does the only logical thing. He throws his roller skates off the roof to confirm what he just saw. The roller skates vanish too. So, to summarize, banana peel, gone. Roller skates, gone. Theo standing on a rooftop looking like he just discovered a conspiracy. Priceless. He tears downstairs and runs straight to Oscar, babbling about portals and disappearing objects, and physics apparently taking the day off. Oscar is currently furious at Theo for a completely separate crime, tearing pages out of their mother's books to make paper rockets, and listens to this portal story with the face of a man who has completely run out of patience. Oscar thinks Theo is joking. Theo thinks Oscar is annoying. And right there, in that ordinary sibling argument, we get the first glimpse of something much deeper. When their mother comes up, we find out the brothers don't just disagree on everything in general, they disagree on her specifically. Theo thinks she got tired and left with someone. Oscar, who understood her work, believes she was a scientist researching time portals who didn't leave, she got trapped. Oscar wants to find her. Theo thinks Oscar is being dramatic. And just like that, a crack opens between them that neither brother knows how to close. In a moment of frustration, Oscar mutters something that crosses a line. Theo snaps. In a white-hot second of fury, he grabs the one thing he knows will hurt Oscar most, his beloved pet turtle, and hurls it straight into the mysterious portal. The silence that follows is catastrophic. Oscar searches everywhere, makes missing posters, puts them up around the neighborhood. He is, by every measure, devastated. Theo watches this unfold and slowly, painfully realizes he went too far. So he does something surprising. He decides to go get the turtle himself. He jumps into the portal. As soon as Theo enters, he finds himself in a strange, in-between space where everything he'd previously thrown is just sitting there. The turtle, alive and completely unbothered, as turtles tend to be. Theo grabs the turtle, steps back through, places it carefully in its spot, and goes to sleep like nothing happened. He just traveled through a time portal, and his main concern is getting to bed before his grandmother notices. The next morning, something is immediately, deeply wrong. Oscar is getting ready for work. Adult work. In a shirt and everything. The house looks different. His grandmother sits in the corner, frail and old, looking right through Theo like he's a stranger. Because to her, he is. Oscar walks in, sees Theo standing in the middle of the room, and faints, flat out, on the floor. When he comes around, trembling, he manages one question. Are you really Theo? Theo, squinting at this middle-aged man he's never met, asks the perfectly reasonable follow-up. Who are you, and how do you know my name? Oscar tells him. Theo stares. How did you get so big in one day? Here's what happened. The portal didn't just move Theo through space, it moved him through time, 32 years into the future. It's not 1990 anymore. It's 2022. Oscar grew up over 3 decades, missing his little brother the entire time, and now said little brother has walked out of thin air looking exactly the same as the day he disappeared. This is the kind of family reunion that does not fit on a greeting card. Theo's first instinct classic is to panic about his grandmother scolding him for being late. He runs to the roof and throws a stone into the portal. The stone bounces back. The portal to 2022 is open. The portal back to 1990 is closed. Oscar, now a physics professor, because of course he became a physics professor, explains it simply. Time travel isn't a revolving door. The way you came in doesn't take you back. They need to find a different portal to get Theo home. They visit Oscar's senior professor, who tells them that in 2022, science has advanced enormously, but there's zero documented evidence of a functioning time portal. The brothers leave deflated. On the walk home, Theo gets distracted every 15 seconds. He sees Oscar's phone and nearly has a philosophical crisis. Oscar explains patiently, yes, it's a phone, no wires, just talk into it. Theo handles this about as well as you'd expect from someone who grew up with rotary dials. But then, Theo remembers something important. Back in 1990, he found a handwritten list in his mother's papers, a list of locations. In a stroke of classic Theo chaos, he'd hidden it inside a dictionary to annoy Oscar. He thinks it might contain clues about the portals. They ask their grandmother about the dictionary. She tells them she gave it away to a man named David, who runs a local shop. The next morning, Oscar goes to retrieve it and gives Theo one clear instruction: do not leave the house. Theo leaves approximately 6 minutes later. He ends up at a shopping mall. Everything is enormous, shiny, and incomprehensible. He discovers a VR headset display, puts it on, gets completely tangled up, and breaks it. The mall staff call Oscar. Oscar pays for the damage. Oscar scolds Theo in a voice that suggests he's been waiting 32 years to do exactly this. Then they head to David's shop, and this is where we meet Elena. Elena, also called Alina, is David's daughter, and she and Oscar have known each other since childhood. Oscar has had feelings for her since what appears to be the beginning of time, which is saying something given what this movie is about. But he never acted on it, never said a word, just quietly carried those feelings for 3 decades like emotional luggage he couldn't figure out how to unpack. Alina is now divorced, a mother of 2, and an English professor at the same university where Oscar teaches physics. Same building, every single day, and Oscar has still said nothing. When Theo sees Alina, this grown, beautiful woman, he does what only a 10-year-old yanked out of 1990 would do. He blurts out her name in pure shock, because the last time he saw her, she was a kid in the neighborhood. Alina looks at him, confused. Oscar scrambles and tells her Theo is a cousin's son. Alina invites them both over. There, her children, Zan and Brenda, are deep in a video game session. Theo is immediately mesmerized. Oscar finds the list in the dictionary and signals it's time to leave. Theo refuses to move. Alina says to let him stay, she'll bring him home later. The kids immediately start teasing Theo because he has no idea how modern games work. They ask Alexa for the time. Theo stares at the ceiling, trying to figure out who Alexa is and why she lives in a speaker. Back home, Oscar spreads the list on the rooftop, coordinates locations of different time portals. One by one, they test each spot by throwing objects. One by one, disappointment. Nothing opens. Oscar realizes there may be errors in his calculations and starts over. Then Theo, watching Oscar work in silence, asks something nobody has apparently asked in a long time. Why do you always stay alone? Why don't you have friends? And why have you never told Alina how you feel? Oscar doesn't look up. He says quietly that even though Alina is divorced, he doesn't think anything can happen between them now. He's missed his moment, moved on. Theo nods seriously, then grabs Oscar's phone and sends dinner invitations to David, Alina, and both her kids, without telling Oscar a single thing. That evening, the doorbell rings. Everyone is standing there smiling. Oscar turns around. Theo is doing his best innocent face, which is not convincing. Dinner happens. The atmosphere warms. Oscar and Alina actually talk, and something frozen for 30 years starts to thaw. The next day, Alina takes Theo shopping. In the changing room, Theo launches into a running football commentary, full sound effects, play-by-play, the works. Something about it makes Alina stop. She knows that style. She's heard it before. It clicks. This is Oscar's little brother, the one who disappeared in 1990, the boy who never aged. She hugs Theo and asks, quietly bewildered, why he hasn't grown a single day older. Theo tells her everything. Alina goes to Oscar for confirmation. He takes her to the roof, throws a stone, and they watch it bounce back. Real. All of it. Oscar explains the 3 portal types. Type 1, direct. Takes you from one specific time to another. Predictable. Type 2, unpredictable. Can throw you anywhere on the timeline. Exciting in the worst way. Type 3, essentially a one-way ticket. Almost no chance of return. Theo used a Type 1 to reach 2022. The problem, that portal is now closed. They need a new one to send him back to 1990. Research begins. Alina starts coming over regularly. Oscar occasionally dances alone in his room when no one's watching. Progress on multiple fronts. But Alina carries a fear she can't shake. If something changes in the past, her children might never be born. Oscar promises firmly, Theo's return will not touch her timeline. Theo, listening, hatches a plan. He enlists Alina's kids, Brenda and Nathan, to help decode the coordinates. His logic is almost elegant. If the children are helping him reach the past, they must exist. And if they exist, Alina's timeline is safe. Using the map, the 3 identify what they believe is a portal near the water. Theo, flooded with excitement and zero patience for verification, jumps into the sea. Brenda and Nathan jump in after him to save him. They surface, drag themselves to shore, look around. No city, mountains, open land. They haven't reached 1990. They've reached 1949. Type 2 portal, unpredictable. 73 years in the wrong direction. Back in 2022, Alina's children have vanished. She calls Oscar in a panic. They realize there's only one thing to do: go in after them. In 1949, the situation is bad. No money, dead phones, growing hunger. So the three children do what any resourceful, historically displaced kids would do. They set up a mind-reading magic show. The setup: Nathan sits at a distance with a hidden earpiece. Theo writes names on a board. Brenda closes her eyes. Nathan whispers the names through the earpiece. The crowd thinks she's psychic. The crowd is delighted. Then the police arrive. Performing a public show without a permit was illegal in 1949 too, apparently. Theo spots them and signals the retreat. They run. A stranger catches all three and drags them to an unknown location. They're brought before an underground gang, one that operates against the government but protects ordinary people. The leader demands to know why children have been brought in. The man explains. During the escape, Theo whistled a specific tune, the gang's secret signal code. Theo is baffled. He learned that whistle from his grandmother. A young woman walks in from the back. Theo goes completely still. Standing in front of him, decades younger but unmistakably herself, is his grandmother. She was in the gang. She always was. The whistle she taught Theo as a child was her secret code carried her whole life, passed down to her grandson, who then accidentally used it in exactly the time and place it originated. Theo doesn't explain this to anyone. He just walks up to this young woman, who doesn't know him at all, and hugs her. Because she's his grandmother, and he misses her, and sometimes that's enough. The gang has no intention of hurting them. The kids are safe, but still stuck in 1949. Meanwhile, Oscar and Alina have jumped through the 1990 portal and arrived to find no one home. They hear crying and hide in a cupboard. Through the gap, they watch young Oscar, the 1990 version, sobbing alone over his missing brother. The future Oscar watches his past self cry and cannot say a single word. 30 years of grief hits him all at once, right there in a cupboard. Back in 1949, Theo puts a plan into motion. He convinces his young grandmother to take a photograph, all of them together, and makes her promise to frame it no matter how much time passes. Because of this, a photo in the 1990 house suddenly changes. Where once only the grandmother appeared, Theo, Brenda, and Nathan are now visible beside her. And on the back of that photograph, written from 1949, are portal coordinates. Oscar and Alina see the photo. They understand. They return to 2022, use the coordinates to find the 1949 portal, and arrive to find two gang members already waiting because Theo had told his grandmother they'd be coming, confirmed with the whistle. The family reunites. Alina nearly collapses seeing her children safe. Then Theo says he doesn't want to leave. He likes 1949. He feels at home. His young grandmother is nearby. He wants to stay. Oscar sits beside him and speaks plainly. Even though they fight, that has never meant they don't love each other. He tells Theo about the nights he cried, not knowing where he was. He tells him the 1990 Oscar, sitting alone in that house right now, needs his little brother. Then the man who's been quietly driving them around steps forward. Oscar recognizes him. It's their grandfather, young, alive, decades before the version either of them knew. The family's connection to time portals didn't begin with their mother's research. It goes much further back. They find the portal back to 2022. Oscar prepares to send Theo through the one leading to 1990 at a construction site, the same one identified in his research. Theo stands at the edge. For the first time in this story, he's not playing tricks. He's a scared kid who doesn't want to return to an empty life. He tells Oscar that in 1990, he has no parents, no answers, and feels completely alone. Oscar hugs him, tells him the Oscar waiting in 1990 is just as lonely and Theo is exactly what he needs. Promises his younger self will take full care of him. Promises everything will be okay. Theo steps through. Back in 1990, his return fills Oscar with overwhelming relief. Their grandmother wraps him in love. When she asks where he's been, Theo, who has crossed 3 time periods, joined an underground gang, and met his own grandfather in the past, tells her simply that he was kidnapped by a gang. Technically, not entirely false. Later, when Oscar starts destroying their mother's books in grief, believing she abandoned them, Theo stops him and tells him everything. The portals, the future, the photo. He even shows him the 2022 phone. Oscar can't fully believe it, but he can't dismiss it either, not with that phone in his hands. The brothers make a pact. No more portals, no chasing the past or the future. They'll live in the time they have and be grateful for it. And that is a movie that deserves to be talked about. A boy who started everything by throwing a banana peel off a rooftop ended up holding a family together across 3 time periods and 1 underground gang. If that's not a character arc, I don't know what is. Now, if you watched this entire video and still haven't subscribed, you're basically Theo throwing things into a portal and hoping for the best. Don't do that. Hit subscribe so you never miss another breakdown like this one. And before you go, drop a comment. Was Theo a hero by the end of this story? Or still just a troublemaker who got lucky? I'm reading every single one, and I will personally argue with you if I disagree. See you in the next one.